and welcome to Dark Edges International Film Festival. I'm Ripley, aka Joanne, and joining me tonight on board the Nostromo is Lucy Harvey. Lucy, hello.
Hello, it's a pleasure to be aboard the Nostromo. This is my second time on the Nostromo.
Well, I see that's rare because nobody ever makes it back to the Nostromo again.
I know. I managed to get in the escape pod at the end.
What did you do? Did you kick Jonesy out or something? Is that how you made the room?
Well, I'll let you into a little bit of insight. When we did the Kickstarter campaign, I somehow managed to get to a screening of the 40th anniversary of Alien, the HD kind of like super duper remastered version in a cinema in Barcelona. And I bumped into some Alien fans and everyone in costume. And one of them has a replica Nostromo in the center of Barcelona in an old shop.
Wow.
So yes, oh my God. I talked him into letting me film there for free. And I filmed little vignettes, fake scenes from the original Alien to promote our Kickstarter. And the last one that I did was me as Ripley in her vest and pants. And Jonesy makes an appearance attached to my crotch.
There's definitely a pussy joke in there. And Jim told me earlier from Vanderflix to try and keep it reasonably clean, but I'm sorry, Jim. That's the first double entendre of the night.
I had to milk it because I thought, this is our last week. We need everyone to give us as much money as possible. I know if it works for Alien, it'll work for us. I'll just get in my pants. And I was in a replica of the escape pod in my vest and pants, in a wig that looks much like your hair at the moment. And it was very suitable. And I found a little ginger cat and I wrote on the back of my pants, back. And then I turned around and on the front of my pants was Jonesy holding a sign that says share. Pretty much looked like that, yeah.
Yes, it's that Jonesy, yes. Brilliant. Well, yeah. I mean, before we get into Alien on stage, I am so excited about this. As an Alien fan, it appealed to me so much. But before we get into the documentary and before you tell us all about it, let's see a clip.
One thing I do need to know, who's got their spacesuits?
I haven't.
Nobody move.
We're just normal people, aren't we?
Normal people don't do things like
No.
this.
How the hell has this made it to the West End for one night only?
I can just about see.
Oh my God, how are they going to do that?
Oh God!
We all thought it was going to be another pantomime, and then somebody came up with this idea.
I'm Luke and I wrote it. Dave is my dad and he's obviously the director. My mum, who's also playing Ripley.
Calling Antarctica traffic control.
And my granddad designed the set.
Cryo chamber.
Drivers involved, supervisors, engineers.
With an articulated mouth. Every alternative I've come up with, I hope has done what Ridley Scott would have wanted to do, but in a more basic format.
I think they did Robin Hood production the year before.
You brought me up on Alien, didn't you?
Yes, don't say what age, don't tell them what age, I'll let you watch it.
Robin Hood has quite a sort of Christmassy panto feel and Alien just doesn't.
I still can't stop laughing about it, really. I think it's gone up to London.
Yeah, I had absolutely no understanding as to why we're going to the West End or how it even happened.
I know they were spotted by someone who made them an offer.
Made every single dream of mine come true.
What's happened? Has everybody had a lobotomy since last time or something? What's going on? Nobody has got their lines going smoothly. This is our last chance to get this right.
Oh my goodness me.
I'm going to the toilet in a minute. It's quite scary.
If somebody says to you, oh, there's a Wiltshire and Dorset bus company have done an amateur dramatics production of Alien and it's coming to the stage, you think, yeah.
You're doing fine, come on.
I'm feeling sick.
Oh my God.
This is the big one.
15 minutes.
Oh, shut up.
Now's the moment. Either go right or go wrong.
wasn't deliberate comedy.
I think we might be on our way to stardom. No.
And welcome back. And that was Alien on Stage. Lucy, can you tell us a bit about it? Because it looks so much fun.
Where do you want to start? There's just too many elements, aren't there?
Yeah, well, you have the documentary, and it's the story of how these bus drivers make it to Leicester Square. But you get to the very end of the film, if you don't mind me jumping to the end, and your story's there, and Danielle's story is there.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that fascinated me as much as the film. So I thought if we maybe could sort of dive into that a bit, and if you could give us and let us know what the film's about and what it means to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just one of those fluky things that happened in our lives. It was never intended. I was living in London with a group of housemates. There was quite a few of us all living together, and one of our friends fell in love with a girl from Dorset, and then came back to London with a photograph of a poster that he saw on the notice board in a village, and it said Alien, a stage adaptation, amateur production. And he was just like, what do you think this is all about? And we got quite obsessed. And on the poster it told us that they had a blog, so we followed their blog for weeks, and it became a bit of an obsession. When we were all together, we would have another look at their blog, excitedly waiting for rehearsal videos to pop up, and they would give us like little clips of them rehearsing, but it didn't give us any indication of how they were going to make it happen. There was no costumes, no set, no scenery, no insight into the props or the alien or any of that. It was just a group of bus drivers and their friends in their normal clothes, running off lines of dialogue, taking the mickey out of each other. So we were just completely intrigued, and found it really fascinating and charming and brilliant. And it got to the point where we were fully aware that they only had 4 shows, a Friday and a Saturday, and then the following Friday and Saturday. And our friend who originally saw the poster was definitely going on their last Friday show. And then another friend of mine, and he and I were hungover on a Saturday in the first weekend of their shows on our couch, and looked at each other, and he's like, do you realize if I don't go to Dorset tonight, I'll never see this show? Well, because he's busy, he's a musician, so he's working all the time. So we had another look at the blog and kind of convinced ourselves it's probably crazy to drive all the way to Dorset. It's like a 3.5 hour drive. And then we kind of looked at each other again and we're like, we should go. And so we just literally ran to the station and then got the train to his car, which was like 20 minutes train drive, and then bombed it 100 miles an hour to Dorset, just in time to get the curtains open and watch their version of Alien, and everything's rest is history. And we just thought it was amazing, and everybody needed to see it.
You must have been the furthest traveled person to go and see that.
Yeah, they thought we were mental. Like, we were like, you're mental. Like, that's incredible what you've done. They're like, who are these crazy people? Like, what are they doing here? So it ended up being like a mutual appreciation for each other's like crazy, eccentric take on things.
Yeah, and then you brought more people back again the next time.
Exactly. So I knew there was a week between now and their next show. I wrote them a review because I was just so enthralled by what a brilliant combination of things their show was, to help my friends understand what this was, because no one would understand it unless they'd seen it. So I wanted everyone to understand what it was. So I wrote them a review, a bit of a piss take review, as in taking the mickey out of, high-end theatre critics. And they loved the review I wrote. And I managed to convince 10 of our friends to come with us the following weekend. And we hired a minibus, but failed to calculate that the minibus goes about 40 kilometres slower than the car. So we realised we were going to be late. So by this time I'd already got Dave's number, because we booked our tickets in advance, and he was excited that we were all coming from London. So they had to hold the curtain for that lot from London that were 20 minutes late.
The big city lights.
Nice. Yeah. And when we got into the theatre, the people that were there were whispering about us, and we had like front row seats reserved, and we had to walk through the village hall amongst the locals. And they're like, oh, it's that lot from London making us wait. So good.
I mean, what was the attendance like at the actual stage event?
Very low. I think they could have, I don't know. I worked out the percentage is like 20% of what they could have over the 4 shows, like 20% of the seats they could have filled. When I was there was hardly anyone in the audience, and the first night there was hardly anyone. I think the Friday night when we were there, we brought 10 people, and there was maybe a few more people there than normal, so that was a slightly busier night. But on the whole, it was a flop, and it seemed such a shame because they'd spent a year building it, and we left. My friends all thought it was wonderful, and then we left that situation just thinking everybody needs to see this, and then it just snowballed from there. How do we get everyone to see this? And it was just a serendipitous series of events. Like, there was no effort made on my part, just enthusiasm. So it's like, I wrote them a review, I got excited, got some friends to see it, they loved it. I made the bold move to suggest to them if they could all get another day off work, because Dave, the director, is the shift manager, so he had the power to make sure they all had the time off.
See, that's how that worked out. I did see mention of they had to get all the same, they had to get a date that actually suited, because they all had to be off work. Because the shock is, whenever the movie starts or the documentary starts, you see bus parts moving, and there's this double decker. I'm thinking, what exactly is going on? Because I deliberately didn't read anything about it, because I wanted to see what it was like for myself, without seeing anybody else's responses to it. So the fact that they were bus drivers completely confused me initially to start off with. And then I just fell in love with them. I thought they were such a fascinating bunch of people, very dry-witted. That sort of like, you know what? This is happening. We're doing this. It's Alien. Sure, what's the big deal about it? and especially the two that play Brett and Parker. They're like a sort of a mini stand-up on their own. It's funny actually that they play Brett and Parker, because you can actually just imagine them as those two characters in real life. Ask them what the bonus situation is in union negotiations.
Exactly. The parallels were fantastic. When we started filming, I was like, the parallels here are just endless, and the contrasts. And I just was like, this is brilliant. This is gold. And then we had the genius idea of filming in the bus garage when we were allowed to film around the bus station. And I was like, it looks like the Nostromo. We could just parallel spaceships and buses and, really have fun with it. And it just works. It's really great. They're blue collar workers, like the haulage, workers on the Nostromo. It just, as you say, they seem so well suited for their roles as well. Like Luke was casting. I think Luke and Dave probably did the casting. And they just chose everybody so well, and the parallels there just worked really well as well.
Yeah, because Ripley she is such a very calm person. I just try and remember Lydia.
Yeah,
she's perfect for Ripley, because she's calm and she's direct, and at the moment, at times you see her having a wee snigger to herself on stage, but it fits in so well.
I know.
I couldn't help but equate it actually in some ways to Rocky Horror, and I know other people have probably said the same thing. But it would be perfect for a complete interaction with the audience.
Exactly.
That Rocky Horror does. The shouting out at certain times and bringing the audience bring props with them. And it has that feel about it. And I think in many ways, the fact that it doesn't take itself too seriously is perfect. Yeah. It's not hoity-toity and lovey darling. Obviously, the enthusiasm's there from everyone, and the desire and the passion to get it right. But they don't take themselves seriously. I mean, what is it they say? If we make mistakes, it doesn't matter. We're bus drivers, which is, to be honest, I wish everybody thought that way, because I think it would be such a refreshing way to approach things.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, it's an interesting combination. The balance had to be exactly right, because they needed to play it straight for it to translate so beautifully. If they'd attempted to try and make it funny, it wouldn't have worked, and they're very conscious of that now, that the whole time they were rehearsing up until the moment that me and my friends saw it, they thought they were doing a serious, thrilling, edgy seat horror, right? And because they put so much care and attention into all the details to make those effects as realistic as possible, meant it was just even more brilliant. And they weren't just going, well, it's only a comedy, we'll just do it slapdash. They put so much effort and attention into it that really made it work. And then playing it straight meant it just translated beautifully. And they had managed to kind of like vibe with the audience on the big show night in a way that seemed very professional. Like they gave a lot of space for the laughter, and I just thought, you guys are nailing this. And there was a fear that they wouldn't, because a lot could have gone wrong. It was just one of those magical moments where everything fell into place. But I mean, it could have been a disaster. Very, you know, high chance that it could have been a disaster.
I dare help it. I felt so sorry for them, because whenever you're watching the documentary, my heart was hammering in my chest, because they were getting ready for the Leicester Square production. And poor Dave, Dave, I think, was the hero of this show. He was absolutely phenomenal. I know he had military training, but I reckon even on deployment, that man wouldn't have faced anything as terrifying as trying to corral this bunch of cats into doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing. Literally, it was trying to herd a bunch of cats, because they were all over the place. And during that last performance as well, before Leicester Square,
the rehearsal,
they couldn't remember their words. They were all over the place.
No,
and
that was
Dave
concerning. That was concerning for everybody. We're like,
yeah. Well, but
whenever you
whenever you go then to the table, they're all sitting having a smoke and a cup of tea and having a biscuit. And well, how did you think that went? I think that went okay. And that's so different from Dave. He's having a nervous breakdown, and everyone else is, it was great. They're out having a smoke and all out the back.
Yeah, Dave carried all of that, and it definitely took its toll on him. He carried it, and he did it beautifully. He treated them all with such respect. You know, he was a very gracious leader, you know.
Yes.
And he's still charming. He's still enjoying the process. I mean, it really did knacker him out completely, but he's still very grateful to have that experience.
Well, all credit to him, because he really brought the troops home with that one. It was magnificent.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. He was the perfect leader, but then everybody fulfilled their roles brilliantly. Like, they were all vital. Like, every single one of them was vital for it to work, and they all somehow pulled it out of the bag in their own way, and that was just incredible.
It was perfect. Lambert made me chuckle so much. She was like somebody's aunt coming in to tell you off every so often. Let us in.
Well, I can't say a goddamn thing.
She was, and the accent, it was just perfect for it. And now I think when I go back to watching Alien the movie again, I'll not be able to take it serious. It'll just be impossible for me to take Alien serious.
Yeah.
And then of course we had Ash. What a shock! Ash is a woman.
Yeah, and she smashed it too.
Absolutely.
She loves performing on stage, so she was able to carry the weight of that role. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I thought the casting was so good, because like Luke, and I think Luke specifically had a hand in the casting, cast Scott as Kane, which is actually quite a challenging role, because he's got to die convincingly in the chest bursting scene, and I think Scott carried that really well. And Scott also played the Xenomorph, which he did with aplomb.
Oh,
you know, being the baddie, creeping up on everybody. And then Jackie is somebody who did drama, you know, all through school, and so she had enough kind of stage presence to do a good job of an evil baddie of Ash. Yeah. You know, the timing and everything, like, well, mega bitch as she was.
She was.
And I just think, I just think they. There's something about it. It's just too good.
The Alien was fantastic, because with Scott, you could tell that he had been trained in some way. He had sort of a flair with him, and he could sing. We see him sing at some point, you know. He just before they get on, he just has to have that moment on the Leicester Square Theatre stage, you know, and belts out of tune. I'm so happy for him. But his Alien, the way he bows at the end, he's kind of the mascot of the whole movie, really, in many ways.
It's a classic position. That pose at the end of him bowing, when I saw that in the edit, when we were choosing the edit, I was like, that's the poster, because it's so West End. You know what I mean? It's like it's such a symbol of the West End, and all West End posters are like silhouetted figures on a background with an audience clapping, and like there's so many, and I thought this looks like a West End poster, and then I researched West End posters, and indeed the trope is a silhouetted figure doing some action, dancing or singing with a playing background. I I thought, right, well, that's what ours is going to be, like a fake West End alien bowing post. That image doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, an alien bowing like that.
No, it's absolutely superb. Just the whole thing it's been a real treat to watch. And I think why it's been so good to watch as well is that there's so much boring and depressing things out there. And suddenly we have a documentary that's all heart and that respects the characters that are in it and don't put them down in any way, because quite often that is the case, that the documentary, and it must be very difficult for anybody who stars in documentary when they see themselves back again and think, well, you took them, what we call over here, you took the mickey out of me. Exactly. You were disrespectful and you didn't listen to what I told you. You've represented me incorrectly. But the people, I'm sure they're absolutely delighted with how they came across.
They are delighted. And we got lots of praise from them. We took the rough cut to them to get their blessing, but we knew we were doing the right thing from the get-go, because it was a very, very conscious decision to just hold them in the highest regard and not give in to the cynical idea that there needs to be conflict and there needs to be drama and you need to see somebody break down, and it's like the tropes that you think make a good documentary. Just we rejected it wholeheartedly and decided that we love them and they deserve to be held up as heroes and to be shown how good they are. And if there was any moments of stress or tension, it was so fleeting and such a minimal part of their success with each other. We would have done them a disservice to highlight it, and it felt uncomfortable to do so. So we just decided that we were going to, make it a love letter rather than an expose.
Yeah, that certainly came across, and that was definitely refreshing, because this X Factor sort of way that things are filmed, it's all, and this is so and so, and they have this really, really traumatic backstory, and this is them now, and it wasn't. It was a group of people, a group of friends, a group of work colleagues who actually came together and enjoyed something that was really magical and very, very special.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we wouldn't have got to see it without you and Danielle.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
So really, this is who we should be thanking you. The audience should be thanking you, and the Paranoid players should be thanking you as well. Paranoid Dramatic Group.
It's a mutual appreciation we have, because we wouldn't have been filmmakers if it wasn't for their story. Like, it wasn't something we were planning on doing anyway. This story needed to be told, and obviously it was us that was going to have to tell it. So that's why we became filmmakers. I mean, Danielle was trained as a filmmaker. She did it at uni, but she was doing like short kind of like promotional stuff for charities and corporate stuff. But she knew how to use a camera. She knew how to edit, use edit software. And I had lots of years experience teaching visual and popular culture, so I felt like I could grapple this with some ease, and I'm completely like immersed in British comedy, and I understand the sense of it. Like I just had the confidence of somebody who'd never made a documentary before that I could definitely do it. So Danielle and I made the perfect team. And that's how we became documentary filmmakers, because of the story. So we're eternally grateful to them for existing, and they're eternally grateful for us for showing up and giving them a wider platform. And it's a feedback loop of gratitude.
and well, it certainly does come through. And I just thought it would have also appealed as well to cosplayers, because if we get into the prop maker, let me see, Peter.
Yeah, we mustn't not speak about Pete.
He was amazing. Now, as a cosplayer, I understand the frenetic activity that goes on to try and get things together, so that they look the part, they work, how are they going to stand the test of time. And his imagination was superb. And it was so good to be able to see that, to see behind the scenes.
Yeah, Pete really is the ultimate hero, because he was dealing with the money shots, if you were in film terms, on stage. Yes. If what he created didn't work, then that's the payoff in their show, is if the chest burster will work. or if the face hugger will work, the egg will open, you know, the alien is convincing enough. And he just managed to do it so well, and he thoroughly enjoyed himself while he was doing it, and he'd never done anything like it before. In the doc you'll see that he says he's only really made like model cars, and then had to kind of step into a whole new world of making, and you know, spent ages on the internet researching, and then spent every waking hour, which is not many compared to most people, because he was working night shifts. He never had a day shift, so he was always working night shifts, and then on his day off or between shifts he would make the props, which is probably why it took him the whole production took a long time to pull together, and they only ever rehearsed on a Sunday. So yeah, he really pulled out the stops and came up with some amazing ingenious ideas. And the brilliant thing is his latest idea for the chest burst had never been tested. He adapted it for the West End show, and I don't know if you picked that up in the documentary, but he never got a chance to test it.
Did he not?
No. So you know that you know Sue, the stunt double.
Yes, that's his wife.
Well, they were partners at the time. She was like, don't you think you should make sure it works? He's like, it'll work, it's fine. And then on the day of the show, they were hoping to like test it, but there was no time to do a test because it would have been, you know, it was just ran out of time. So the fact that on the night with over 400 people watching, it was okay. It's like, well, better than okay, but it was just a miracle, because he admitted himself it was a 50-50 chance, you know.
There was lots of fishing line going on. Actually, at one point I thought it had stopped, because there is this build up, and you're thinking, please let it work for them.
The build up is brilliant, like, and we were so grateful just for the way the filming of the show came together, because we just stumbled on the idea of putting the GoPro onto the alien on the day before the show, and that turned out to be such a brilliant perspective to edit into the scenes during the show. And we also had the blessed chance to go back the second year, because they were asked to go back again, and we did a lot of cutaways backstage, the different angles and close-ups of the props and the hands, because we, you know, the first night we filmed it, there's just a lot going on, and we didn't, you know, we kind of got a lot of the stuff, but there were certain elements that we managed to get the second year that meant when we edited the show footage, we could really build up the suspense between like different camera angles of what was happening when the chest burster was going to burst. So it just made it even better. So we were very lucky that they got asked back, because it just improved the final edit no end.
That's amazing, because I simply thought you'd got it all from their very first night. It comes across that way.
Yeah, well, that was, you know, us trying to be clever.
Well, it works. Do you know the way that you build it up as well, the suspense? The gang are asked, would you like to do the Leicester Theatre? A couple of them have been crying, apparently, by all accounts, because it's so emotional for them. The rest are, oh yeah, that would be quite good. And then there's the build up to whenever they go, and the nerves start to take hold of even the ones that were very calm about it all before, and they were blasé about it. Suddenly everybody's at the Leicester Square Theatre. They walk in, it's a huge place compared to what they've been working in before. They've got, and they stay in the comedy bit was the hotel that they're staying in is tiny typical London place.
So cheap and
and then they walk into Leicester. So they've come from this hotel, which is 2-star accommodation, and suddenly they go into Leicester Square Theatre, where everybody has played. I mean, it's a major deal. Whenever it's first announced in the documentary, I personally gasped. I thought, really? You got them to Leicester Square Theatre? That is phenomenal. And your story at the end as well, how it describes, if you would tell us how you actually got into Leicester Square.
Well, that was a fluke. So I told you that I wrote a review, and then I convinced, after we went to see the show a second time, I presented the idea of doing another date, and then had the vague idea that I would like rent the working men's club on my street and then just get like 100 friends or something like that. That was the plan. And at the time, I kind of quite liked Facebook as a form of communication. I feel differently now, but at the time, I put a message on Facebook just after I'd written the review and we went to see the show again. I was like, the bus drivers are coming. We've got a date. I just need to find a venue. And then some friend of a friend who's got a bar in Soho sent me a private message with an email saying, contact this person. And so I sent them my review and the story of how we discovered these people and how much they, you know, it'd be amazing for them to get a better audience and the date that they were available. And the person got back to me, and he was the owner of the Leicester Square Theatre, and said, yeah, we've got a slot free on that day. I would love to have them. And that was it. That's all I had to do.
But he used to be a bus driver, isn't that correct?
That's right. How did you know that?
I read the ending.
Yeah.
That's the bit that intrigued me as well. I thought, here we go. We've seen how the players, how they've got there and what they've done. But then it's almost like a mini documentary at the very end. All this text done in the mother font. Yeah. And it explains about what you did done and the bus ride down to up to Dorset, up or down, whatever direction you're going.
Down.
To Dorset. Yeah, down to Dorset. Yeah. And how you got together. And then it mentions the fact that the Leicester Square Theatre manager had been a bus driver. So you couldn't have got a better hook for that guy. He must have thought.
No, it was pretty. I just think the whole journey has been so serendipitous and so positive. It's like we struck on something that everybody's going to love and nobody seems to want to say no to, apart from maybe the first festival we entered the documentary to said no, and then pretty much all of them said yes after that. So we were like, oh, okay, well, let's see if we get into another one. And then it's just like, we've got into all of them.
Yeah, and it's done so well. In fact, your documentary is opening up the Dark Ages International Film Festival.
Yay!
So it's the opener for it.
Thank you.
And then immediately afterwards, there's Alien.
Perfect.
So you've got the really good one, and then you've got the other one afterwards.
The benchmark and then the prototype.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, okay, admittedly the effects aren't as good in Alien and the comedy's not there. It's not quite the same, but so yeah, it's going to be a really good vibe.
Yeah. I wish I could be there. I really do. It's a bit of a shame that there were so many festivals that we aren't able to attend. And with the restrictions and the having to do all the stuff with them, it's like, makes life very difficult to move around. So yeah, I'm really grateful that we're the opening show at Dark Ages, and I hope you all have a blast watching it. And also, if someone watches this interview and then goes and sees it, please get in touch with us on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. We don't have many followers, but it really makes a difference when the audience reaches out, because a lot of the cast and crew are on there, and they'll respond and receive your well wishes, and they love it. So it's nice to reach out to them. It's Alien on Stage Doc. That's our handle. Yeah.
And actually, I found you earlier on Twitter because Banterflix had actually mentioned about this and about the show next week, and I had put underneath it, really, really enjoyed it. I'm head scout on that. And Rosie came back and said, "Oh, thank you very much." I said, "Oh, your Ash was fantastic."
Jackie?
Is it Jackie? Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Jackie Rowe. Yes, sorry.
Jackie Rowe. Yeah. Rosie Jack.
Yeah. Rosie Jack. Yes. Well, there you go. There's your new name.
I'm going to tell her she's Rosie Jack from now on.
Rosie Jack. That's her stage name.
Yeah.
So she had come back on saying thanks very much. And
yeah.
So I mean, that's unusual. There you go. There's people in documentary that are interacting directly with the fans.
Yeah,
so that's
they love it. It's a love fest.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for anybody watching this, go and see it. And I'm going to get the exact details because I've written them down. It's Monday the 25th at 7 p.m. in City Side Cinema. Make sure you book tickets, and you can get them from the Dark Ages website. It's worth seeing. And then stay on and see Alien. As I say, it's not as good, but hey, you're there anyway. You might as well go and see this one.
Slightly different vibe.
Yeah. Do you know, it's really good as well that you're able to use the music from the film within it. Did you have any problems with copyright issues? Or?
Well, actually, we haven't. I don't think we've used that much music from the film. The stuff that they have in the show, we've used. And then we had a really amazing composer that we found called Alex Shisha. And he made us a couple of pieces along the theme of the Alien soundtrack that we interspersed here and there. And then later in the film's kind of like realization, we were given the blessed chance to have a polish edit by a professional crew in Canada called Definitive Film. Fate had it that we got picked up on Kickstarter by a guy called Adam F. Goldberg, who threw us £1,000 donation for the title of executive producer. We were so grateful, but then we found out that he really is an executive producer in Hollywood. A big one.
Oh, wow.
A big executive producer that loves geeky fan art things. So he's supported a couple of other indie films that he found on Kickstarter. So we just ticked his box. He sent us £1,000. He became our executive producer. And it wasn't until we finally finished the film that we found out what an influential person this guy was. He took our film that we previewed at Fright Fest and said, it said to an American audience, it feels like a foreign film because it was very, very British and quaint. It was our original edit. We're not, that's our first time we've edited a film. So he handed it over to a group called Definitive Film in Canada. And they didn't fundamentally change it, but they just gave it a slightly different energy and made our graphics even zippier, like way better, and made the bold move of putting in lots of bits of clips from the original Alien, and then gave us the confidence to think it was okay because Adam F. Goldberg has contacts with Disney and Fox. And we've recently just been given the green light to use all of the IP from our film. So we're a very blessed group of people that just, yeah.
That is, and has this? I mean, the next question is, how much has this changed your life? I mean, has this put you on a different path, or are you trying to balance this in amongst your normal day job?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not I haven't automatically become a successful filmmaker that's making loads of money. I'm still me, and I've got a very humble existence. In fact, I completely changed my career to finish this film. I stopped doing my regular day job and gave everything to finishing this film. And it's been years of my life, and I don't regret it. It's wonderful, but I don't know whether it's set me on the path of being a documentary maker, because I couldn't possibly do what we just did again. It'd have to be a different route, like the energy and the money and the time. There's no way possible I could do that again. So I am interested in continuing this kind of job, but it would have to be in a different capacity, a very different capacity. This is never to be repeated. I'm never going to stumble across a brilliant story like this again. I mean, yeah. I mean, Danielle is already a filmmaker, so Danielle can make films. She's got all the equipment, she's fully trained, she can continue to do this, and is still working as an editor for other people. So yeah, but I'm a different jack of all trades kind of person.
And you now have an IMDb entry as well because of it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. No, for somebody who just thought, let's do this, it's just amazing. It really, really is just simply amazing. You and Danielle have done a fantastic job.
Thank you.
You really
so much.
have. Has any of the bus drivers, have they left and gone and done other things, or are they still?
Well, I mean, they can't really give this their full attention because they all worked full time on the buses. And in fact, it impinged a little bit on Dave because it was such a full-time job for him. It kind of started to have a knock-on effect in his working life because it's a full-time job. Like his day job is a full-time job. So squeezing in something like this that's exponentially growing in popularity needs to be done again and again. It's completely unsustainable. So I think they continue to do like small shows together, but nothing as ambitious as this. It's like one of those things you can't sustain. But they would love to do it again, and it would be a one-off to get them all together again. But we'd have to raise a lot of money for them to be able to do it without killing themselves, you know.
Yes, and it was all done in pre-plague times as well.
Yes, in the before times.
In the before times, yeah.
Yeah, different story now. I mean, a bit of time's passed as well, so some of them have moved on, and you know, just because something's brilliant doesn't mean you have to keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah, well,
that's why we filmed it.
Yeah, and that's what I liked, because you had seen throughout the documentary, you had seen them rehearsing. You didn't see the scenes properly until you got to Leicester Square.
Yeah, we saved that.
Yeah. That was such a good idea, because then you were able to appreciate the brilliance. You'd seen all the mix-ups and the mess-ups and the who-has and poor Dave pulling out his hair, and all the different bits and pieces going ahead, and all the crew getting together. And then, of course, in Leicester Square, you actually physically get to see it. You see the appreciation of the audience and how they responded and things that they were shouting out. And the scene where the chest buster comes out, oh, they were waiting for that. They were so excited.
It really was the money shot.
Yeah,
Everybody
they did.
was in ecstasy when that when that was successful. I think our decision to do it that way, because a few people who were like clever documentary makers who we had vague chats with, are like, well, you could sort of do it in reverse order and you could change the thing. And I was like, I actually feel very strongly that the audience watching the documentary should have the same experience that we had. So it's like, what is this? And can this be real? And how are they going to do it? And are they genuinely going to pull this off? And wait a minute, doesn't look like they can pull this off. And then somehow magic happens and you're just aghast, go, wow, they're doing it. And we just wanted the people watching the documentary to go through that journey of what?
Perfect, absolutely perfect. And of course you had the wrap party as well, and everybody was all dressed up, and they're drinking again. There's a few instances of drinking in it as well. They're going down on the bus,
tequila and
pint away.
And all of that wasn't planned. I mean, we did plan to sort of rent the terrace overlooking the Leicester Square, which is directly opposite the Leicester Square Theatre. And that was a good move, because it's quite cinematic, isn't it, really, to have that view of the. And I thought, well, that wasn't particularly wasn't sort of contrived. Do you know what I mean? It's like we just needed a venue that was nearby, and it worked out really well. And then they decided to come dressed in tux and it was their moment to have an amazing time. So they chose to get dressed up afterwards. And then all of the people that turned up that we filmed for the Vox Pops, the kind of like opinions afterwards, were just random people that showed up. And a couple of cynical reviewers have said, well, they probably paid those people to kind of like come at the end and say stuff like the guy from the English National Opera and the cosplay guy, you know, that was probably set up. But it's like, it genuinely wasn't. We didn't have that kind of foresight. They were just there, and they were willing to talk to camera and just say how incredible they thought it was. It was just a really, as I said, everything was serendipitous. Nothing was contrived. It just worked like that. It was really lucky.
Well, I think that's the perfect way to finish it. We finished on a high note there with how the reaction from everyone and the crew, obviously the fact that they had their party, and it was just a beautiful way to end it. And I think maybe we'll leave it there as well too, Lucy.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic to talk to you. And don't forget now to book your tickets Monday the 25th at City Side Cinema. You'll definitely want to see this.
Yeah,
stay on for
enjoy,
Alien.
everybody.